5 Live Formula One coming to you from Budapest ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. The final race before the summer break. It's still tight between the World Championship leader Oscar Piastri and Britain's Lando Norris. Every chance we could go all the way to the final race of the season. There's full commentary from here at the Hungaroring 5 Live, 2 p.m. on Sunday. We'll be with you on Saturday. We'll be with you tomorrow night with a special Lando Norris show. I'm Steve Crossman. This is 5 Live Formula One. And on tonight's programme, we will be speaking to Piastri, we'll be speaking to Williams driver Carlos Sainz, and much, much more. So welcome to Budapest. Welcome to Alpine. The Alpine F1 team have very graciously hosted us on their rooftop here in the paddock. Now, when I say paddock, I'm just going to stand up from my chair here. What I mean by that is, if I just sort of peek over the side of the little glass barrier here on the roof of Alpine, I can see a long stretch in front of me, almost like a long pit lane, full of every fancy car manufacturer that you have ever heard of. Everyone's got one of those fancy garages somewhere in their hometown. But as I look down in front of me, I can see Williams to my right-hand side. I can see Red Bull in front of me. I can see the unmistakable bright red of Ferrari, the green of Aston Martin. The list goes on and on and on. And speaking of great lists, what a brilliant team we've got for you here in Hungary. We've got commentator Harry Benjamin. We've got Sam Bird, Mercedes test driver back in the day, now a Formula E racer. And we've got Jenny Gow as well. Hey, team.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
That's an intro, isn't it?
Can we have you every weekend? That was quite nice.
Listen, it's amazing to be here, and we've got so much to talk about, and I know we've got a ton to get stuck into, but really, Sam, before we do anything else, I just want to know about this track, which we can't see it from here because the massive grandstand is in front of us. But how many times have you driven this thing?
Well, I'm going to blow my own horn here.
Do it.
So the feeder series to Formula One is now called Formula 2. Back in my day, many decades ago, it was called GP2, and I actually got my first ever pole position here and set the GP2 lap record by doing so in 2010. So I do know this track, and do you know what? It is a driver's favourite. This is a track that drivers love to attack and love to do qualifying.
It's great over one lap, but I would say it's not always the best when it comes to racing. It's so often
Sell
described.
Sell the commentary.
It's going to be really good. That run down to turn one and then out through the left-hander of turn two. Watch out there. But look, it's described, Sam, isn't it, so many years as Monaco without the walls, because it is tight and twisty in that middle sector. It is a difficult track to make an overtake on.
It is follow the leader in Sector 2 and Sector 3. There are overtaking opportunities into 1 and into 2, but yeah, you're right, Harry. The rest of the track, it is follow the leader.
It's a beautiful city as well, Jenny, isn't it? And it's the 40th anniversary of F1 here at the Hungaroring. Feels like the perfect time to be here.
To me, this is a very special place. It's one of the first races I ever came to. I love that you can see the whole of Budapest outside of this beautiful circuit. There's a water park just to our right-hand side, which undulates down the hills. It gives you a sense of the proportions of this racetrack. And this place is boiling hot. There's rain across all the time. So you've got these contrasts of highs and lows. And then, on top of that, as you say, the drivers love coming here. And that transfers to us. We love coming here as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The sun is shining. It's a glorious day. Alpine's setup here is amazing as well, because we just through the set of double doors in front of us, we're in this nice open-air balcony, and thankfully we've got a bit of breeze. It's all set up like an Alpine chalet. And these humongous motorhomes are something else, because, you know, they're 3-story buildings, some of them. I mean, every one of these buildings is bigger than my house, but they're all on wheels. Like, give it a couple of days, everything will be gone. That's F1.
Yeah, it's essentially flat pack furniture, and it's straight back down again onto the next one. Although there is a test after this weekend, so I'm not sure it will be a massive shutdown straight after the Grand Prix. And of course, it's a summer break next, so there's not a mad rush to suddenly get everything on to the next track. But yeah, it's incredible what they've able to achieve. And you know what? Steve, it is a hard life, isn't it? Being up here with the sun beating down. They just delivered us a wonderful selection of biscuits as well.
There's one left.
There's only one left. Andrew Benson's scoffing them all. But it really is a privilege to be here. But sometimes, someone's got to do this job. And we will do it.
It's funny that Taylor Swift has just started booming out of the speakers behind us, because the last time that I was at a Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso was being romantically linked to Taylor Swift. I remember that is going back a few years now. And actually, Jenny, if we go back even further, the last time I was at a race with you was the big decider, Verstappen versus Hamilton, wasn't it? Back in the day. So I'm assuming great drama, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every weekend just delivers on that level. Did you not know that?
Apparently so.
I mean, that race, that whole weekend was phenomenal on so many levels. And I look back at the end of 2021. Of course, it built up all season long. But I don't know many occasions in F1 where you could have written the script as well as it played out. And obviously it didn't play out well for everyone, but for the drama, for the sense of news across the world, it accelerated F1 to this global sport that broke through the boundaries, that broke through the old style F1, and it became relevant to so many millions of people. And that was the weekend that you joined us, so it's all down to you.
I think so. Right, let's get stuck into this race weekend then, guys. Jen, just checking, have you spoken to Lando?
I have spoken to Lando Norris, had lots of chats with Lewis Hamilton, all sorts of drivers up and down the grid to find out what's going on out there. Kimi Antonelli at Mercedes as well, George Russell. Yeah, there's lots of gossip, lots of things going on, and it is the start of the summer break after this race, so lots of questions about where are you going on holiday, how many rounds of golf are you going to play?
All right, well, we'll definitely hear from some of those people over the course of the next hour. Before we do any of that, though, we have a correspondent. Hello, Andrew Benson. Lovely bucket hat.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Is that
Well,
a bucket hat?
when you got, I wouldn't call it a bucket hat. No, it's more of a fisherman's hat, Jenny, isn't it? Yeah.
When
you've got my level of hair, you need to take care of the sun. That's all I'll say.
AKA nuns.
Yeah, just for the listeners' benefit.
Yeah.
So you've been furiously waving as you walked over. What's happening?
So people may have noticed that there's been quite a lot of speculation about Max Verstappen's future for the last few months. Mercedes have wanted to sign him, or at least have been interested in signing him. Today, finally, he's confirmed he's staying where he is. As he put it, I think it's time to basically stop all the rumours. For me, it's always been quite clear that I was staying anyway. So that's Verstappen staying at Red Bull, at least for next year, which means that George Russell and Kimi Antonelli will stay at Mercedes, although there's nothing confirmed there yet. And actually, quite interestingly, Russell's been talking extensively about his contractual situation today, and he's basically been saying that he's not that happy with the fact that Mercedes are his managers and his employers. He doesn't have a lot of power in that situation, he says, and he just wants to spend the summer break having a think about what he actually wants out of the situation before they get into the nitty-gritty of the details of the contract talks. I don't think that means that he's not going to stay there. He will. It's just a question of exactly how they resolve that slight awkwardness that there is in that managerial situation between team and driver there.
All right, well, let's just pivot to Verstappen for a second then, because that is obviously big breaking news. I mean, look, I don't want us to go into another Christian Horner chat, because obviously that has been done and done again. However, I do think, Andrew, it's necessary to ask you here. It can't be a coincidence that a couple of weeks after Horner leaves, with all of the frustrations that seem to exist around him with Max Verstappen, that this is being confirmed.
It's not unrelated. I mean, that's the situation in that team has been quite toxic on one level or another for about 18 months. And one of the main areas that it's been tricky is that Jos Verstappen, Max's dad, basically hates Christian Horner and hasn't hidden that fact. So that's a point of tension in the relationship. It was always Max's decision whether he stayed or not. But I think fundamentally he's come to a conclusion. The Horner thing's in the mix, but just as big is that there are all these uncertainties about 2026 because all the regulations are changing, cars and engines and fuel. And the sort of carrot to go, if you like, was that everybody in Formula One believes that Mercedes have an advantage at the moment on the engine. Don't know how anybody really knows that because they're all working in isolation, but generally that's the perception up and down the pit lane. So that's the temptation, do you go? But at the same time, before you've seen all the cars running, it's a big risk. Also, contractually, it would have been difficult for him to leave. He could have left, but it would have met. But there was no active clause that was applicable that he could have, used to get himself out. It would have been much more messy than that had he chosen to leave this time. Whereas if Red Bull are performing next year, there's no reason to leave. If Red Bull aren't performing next year, then those contractual clauses will come into play, and it'll become that much easier to leave.
Yeah, from speaking to other people, as you say, Max didn't want to cause a stir. That's not who he is. He just wants to go with flow. He wants to be in the fastest car possible, and he wants to win. That's all he really wants in life when it comes to Formula One racing. So he didn't want to leave Red Bull on a sour note. He didn't want to cause any tension. He left that to his dad to do. And interestingly, his dad was very quiet for the last couple of races, almost ghost-like, in the background. And this is, it was just a matter of time, wasn't it? And before Max did say, OK, I'm staying. But it is interesting that it's only for 1 year. So he can look at the field, make his pick, and go to wherever he wants to go to.
Well, I asked him the question today that led to that answer.
That's funny.
Why didn't you lead with that?
I asked him that question because I was pretty damn sure what the answer was going to be.
Right.
I won't say how.
It's like dot to dot. We can just draw the lines.
Yeah. Anyway, it's resolved now, and obviously he's the biggest fish in this pond, and so that everything else sort of falls into place after that.
But the other point is, no one actually knows. There's rumours about, the Mercedes engine looks like it's going to be the best for next year. No one actually knows for sure what the case is going to be. So really for Verstappen to confirm for next year is not the biggest surprise. It's ideal. He can do next year with Red Bull, see where they lie, see who's good and see who's not good. And then if Red Bull aren't performing, but suddenly Mercedes are, or Aston Martin are with an Adrian Newey car and a Honda engine in the back of it, he can go to any team he likes. It doesn't matter what contract length another driver has. If Verstappen comes knocking and says, I want to join your team, they're going to make that happen. So this really is just, I feel like this is the obvious scenario for Verstappen to kind of find himself in, really.
Sam, from a driver's perspective, Laurent Mekies, his new boss at Red Bull, basically said last week, well, not basically said, he did said, if you give him a fast car, he'll be fine. That's what he wants. But we don't really know that that's going to happen, do we, in the next couple of years? So I feel like I'm quite surprised that he's decided to go all out now. He didn't need to.
No, he didn't need to, but the questions were there all the time on his immediate future. So he's clarified that. And as Andrew has just said, and how we've all just spoken about, he can have the pick of any seat he wants up and down this pit lane. He's that good. He's proven how fast he is over the last 6, 7, maybe even 8 seasons of Formula One. He's the fastest guy out there. And you give him a quick car, he'll turn it into a winning car. You give him a winning car, and he'll win most, if not all, of the races, because he's done that before and he can do that again. I think you're right. He'll look at 2026, and if Red Bull aren't delivering, he'll go elsewhere. And he can pick any team up and down the pit lane. It's pretty much that simple.
The other thing that's worth bearing in mind is, he's very invested in Red Bull. He's been there for 10 years now. They were the ones who brought him into Formula One. If you remember, back in 2014, it was between Mercedes and Red Bull as to whether which one would he sign for. And he went to Red Bull because they committed to giving him a Formula One seat when he was 17 years old, which Mercedes couldn't do at the time because they had Hamilton and Rosberg under contract. And this is a very tumultuous time at Red Bull. They've just lost their 20-year-long team principal. There's lots of uncertainties around the team. And I think he also, in the mix of things that I've been talking about, there was also the consideration that if he left now, what would that do to Red Bull, as a team? And so there were just not very many reasons to leave, and lots more reasons to stay, and that's why he's done it.
Andrew, thank you for dropping in. And just quickly on your get-up, I just want to say, if you catch anything, if you put any lures out there, if you get any bites, let us know.
I'm open to some fashion advice, Steve, because the thing about hats is you look like a bit of an idiot no matter which hat you choose, right? And I went for this one because it's practical. It keeps the sun off, basically. Whereas a baseball cap, you still got to worry about your ears and all the rest of it. So any options for making me look less ridiculous, I'm open to.
Why are you looking at me when Sam Bird is right there?
What fashion guru Bird?
It's just you look like you're going to go on a safari. That's the only. It's either fishing or safari.
Yeah.
But look, I think you look great.
I think the thing is,
you own it.
It stands out because no one else in Formula 1 wears a hat like this, right?
Look, you own it.
Which is there's probably a reason for that, right?
Benny, you own it.
People can see Benson coming a mile off.
Nice one, Andrew. Thank you. So Andrew will be back with us tomorrow when we'll do basically the life of Lando, a big focus on Lando Norris.
The life of Andrew Benson.
The life of Benson. The
I
best
think
of
that'd be
Benson.
great. The best of Benson.
Half
That's
an hour
awesome.
of Benson's best bits.
Don't you say
Great.
that until they retire. I think that's what we have to do. Right, let me just bring you up to speed with how the championship is looking now that we've done the breaking news. So off the back of his win in Spa, Oscar Piastri leads his teammate Lando Norris by 16 points. In the constructors as well, I mean, it's barely worth mentioning because it's that big, the lead that McLaren have got. They've got more than double the points of Ferrari in second. It's 516, plays 248. So it's all about the world title, right? And CEO of McLaren, Zak Brown, has this really nice line when he was talking about the fight between the two. And he said it's a coin toss each weekend as to who's going to win. Does it feel like a coin toss each weekend?
Why do you all look at me?
Because you're the driver.
I'm the driver.
And you're the McLaren link, and you actually know Lando quite well.
I know, but that's what makes it so hard.
Who's better at golf, Lando or Oscar?
Oh, Lando, because
Okay.
Oscar doesn't play golf.
Oh, does he not?
No, he
okay.
doesn't.
Who's better at driving?
Yeah,
That's what you're asking me. This is really complex to answer because if you'd asked me this last year, I think it would have been a lot easier. It would have been, right, well, Lando's clearly got more pace in the races. They can be close in qualifying, but Lando's got the edge in the races. But this year, I think Oscar in the winter break has worked on some different aspects of his work, and he's found pace in the race. And now they are really neck to neck. You know, like they're going at it, and they're so close. And I don't think Lando was necessarily expecting that going into this year. I think it's kind of caught him a little bit by surprise. And Lando, he wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit more than Oscar. Oscar, nothing seems to faze him. That's the strength that I think Oscar has over Lando right now. In fact, we spoke to Carlos Sainz earlier, and we'll see what he has to say. But I think if I were to say anything, Oscar has that ability to not get phased. That's all I have to say on that.
For me, if you look at Norris, he's won 4 races this year when we're talking about Grand Prix races, to Piastri's 6. But it's not just about the stats, is it? You look at them, the demeanour, the way that they approach a race weekend, the confidence that Oscar Piastri has developed over the last 3 years, working with former F1 winner Mark Webber. His camp is so secure, and you just get the impression, talking to other people in the paddock, that the safe money is backing Piastri because he is so steady, so level, so calculated and clinical, and they think, talking to others, that's what you need to win a world champion.
All right, let's hear from the world championship leader then, shall we? Here is Oscar Piastri.
Every weekend now it has been, or the last few weekends anyway, it's been Lando and I. I expect our competition to still be strong and put up a good fight, especially at certain tracks through the rest of the year. But whether that comes from Max or Ferrari or Mercedes or someone else maybe, we never really know. So, I'm not too concerned about, what happens in that. I'm just trying to win each race and extend the lead. But, I think clearly Lando and I are in the same car, which is the best. And, he's naturally going to be the closest competition.
Harry, Oscar Piastri.
I mean, last time out, he was metronomic in terms of putting in the lap time in Belgium when he was perhaps at a slight disadvantage with his tyre. He was going to run out of life compared to Lando Norris's quicker than Norris's hard tyre. So that was an example, once again, of how metronomic Piastri can be when he's in the car and he has a delta that he has to set. He is consistent every single lap. You go back one race before that and we go to the British Grand Prix. Arguably, that was Oscar Piastri's to lose, and he lost it because did he make an error of judgment? Was the penalty too harsh that he was given under the safety car? That'll be forever discussed. But ultimately, he was in the lead and he was going to win that race without the safety car infringement. That would have been an extra win. He would be further ahead in the championship. Then you go back previous to Austria. He made a yellow flag in qualifying, cost him his final flying lap. He'd been quicker than Lando up to that point and arguably could have gone on to take that Grand Prix victory. We didn't see that happen. If is a big thing in Formula One, naturally, and we hear from so many drivers that you kind of have to make your own luck, but you do luck into things sometimes, and it hasn't quite gone Piastri's way on the last 2 Grand Prix, but it's so easily could have done. And I think when it all comes together, it often goes the way of Oscar Piastri because he just has that consistency. But let's not forget the difference in experience between these 2 drivers as well. And I think this elevates Piastri slightly. How far he's come in a short space of time. He is laser sharp in his focus. His tyre management was shocking in year 1. That was what was his undoing. But he has worked on it and he has improved massively. It's now arguably one of his greatest strengths.
Yeah, he's certainly found something, hasn't he, over the winter, Harry? But all it's going to take is one puncture or one failure on one of those cars, and the person that doesn't have those issues looks like he's going to pick up the title. It is that close.
You're saying it's going to come down to luck?
Well, no, not luck, because they've both been brilliant this year, but well.
It's going to come down to the business of Formula One. And that's how it operates.
These things sometimes happen, Jenny. Like you might pick up a puncture with somebody else just with their front wing. Right now, they both deserve to be a Formula One world champion, but it's going to come down to something like that.
Right, let's hear from Lando then, shall we? Speaking to Jenny.
I'm not as good as where I would like to be, but I think a lot of improvements have been made, and I think I'm in a much better place. I'm happier with the car, things like that. So I've been working hard. I don't feel like I can do a lot more than what I've been doing. So for that reason, just more of the progress that I've been making.
How much do you think luck is going to play its part in where this championship falls?
I mean, there's always luck here and there, but I don't think you can ever rely on it. Oscar's ahead at the minute because he's been doing a better job. That's not because of luck, that's just because he's been driving better. But of course, I'm doing the best I can to try to recover that and get back. I feel like I'm in a good rhythm. I feel like I have things under control, and I'm in a good form. So I'll continue that, and hopefully it comes back my way.
Lando Norris, see what you did there, Jenny. You knew that was coming, the luck question.
Well, I thought it was important to ask an expert.
You teed me up there, didn't you? You teed me up there.
Teed you up for failure. I'm so sorry. But I think it is important to talk about luck when it comes to a championship that's so close. And yes, it's the business of F1, but actually sometimes you luck into it. And Silverstone is a perfect example. The stewards ruled, they gave a harsh penalty to Piastri, and that was to Lando Norris's luck, good fortune, whatever you call it. And I think as sports people, you have to rely on a little bit of luck to swing things your way when it's really, really tight.
But you will go back to, and I imagine we'll have this conversation with whoever wins the championship at the end of the year, and we'll go back to, was it that retirement in Canada where Lando Norris picked up no points? Or what about in Australia where both McLarens went out onto the grass as it started raining, but the way Norris came back on track, he was able to hold on to the lead, but just being a millimetre out of sync was Oscar Piastri. He went onto the grass and lost arguably a race win, certainly a second place, and came back with a couple of points to his name. Big points lost. We'll be focusing on those moments, and that's Formula One in a nutshell. Though those moments make up the season, and that delivers whoever the champion is.
One thing I would say is, looking at the year as a whole so far, Oscar Piastri has not only improved his race performances, but he looks more comfortable in this car potentially than Lando Norris, even in qualifying. And this McLaren car is built to drive at the front of the pack. It's built to win races from the front. When you're in the dirty air, the person in second can't really get very close or struggles to get close enough to make an overtake. And we've seen that since pretty much race one in Australia. The person that gets to the front at the first corner ultimately and does the better job in the pit stops will win this race.
I just hope sorry, Steve. I just hope that the championship someone doesn't capitulate, and it doesn't. We're sitting here going, oh, it's really tight between I hope that it stays that way till the end. What I don't want to see is, let's say it's Lando Norris to split it. I don't want to see him fall away and lose momentum and pale into like insignificance in terms of this championship. I want it to go all the way. I want them to be pushing each other on and higher.
I think we're going to see that, Jenny.
I
but
hope
we
so.
might, what we might see is maybe Oscar Piastri going on a run of 4 or 5 wins in a row, and then we might see Lando doing 3 or 4 or 5 in a row. I think that's what we're going to see, because McLaren, I believe, will continue to dominate the second half of the season, and they will get many, many more 1-2 finishes. It's just which order.
Right, let's get to our feature interview then. So we've got loads more to come from here in Budapest. I think we can move if we want to move, can't we? Look, I mean, Alpine have been wonderful, but...
It's quite warm.
It is quite warm. So we'll think about that, because you're going to hear now from Carlos Sainz. We're also going to do a bit of a half-term report. So we'll do the biggest overachiever, the biggest underachiever, if we dare, the moment of the season as well. We'll talk more Lewis Hamilton. We'll talk Ferrari for sure. Speaking of, let's hear now from a man who was a Ferrari driver until Lewis Hamilton rolled around in red. Carlos Sainz. So I had the chance to sit down with him inside the Williams office here in Budapest. We spoke about everything from his friendship with the Tour de France winner Tadej Pogacar to the influence of his father, rally world champion Carlos Sr., and of course the future of Williams, the team that he signed for 1 year ago this week.
Yeah, happy anniversary, happy birthday, happy anniversary, I think sounds better.
Yeah.
I never look too much into these things. I know it's approximately 1 year, but I never look at the exact dates of when things happen. I don't tend to have a dates where I mark something out of it.
In other words, no one got you a cake or anything?
No. Well, maybe they have something ready for me this weekend, but doesn't look like it.
So I remember when you signed, you talked about like your childhood heroes and the importance of the team. So who would have been the people when you were growing up, whether or not they were still in the game, who inspired you?
Well, for me, the first Williams driver that I remember driving for Williams is Montoya, because it's the time that I started to watch Formula One around the 2000s. I remember Montoya giving Schumacher a hard time, Alonso at the time also. And I remember that's my first memory of, let's say, Williams, watching Formula One on TV with Williams. But the reality is that I've always just grow up watching old videos of Formula One. And in all of those videos, there's a Williams car winning. No, in the end, it doesn't matter if it's the 90s, the 80s, or the 70s. You always see a Williams around in F1, and especially those videos of the domination years, of Nigel Mansell, and then when Ayrton arrived to the team. I think we all have seen plenty of videos.
I've actually got an Ayrton quote for you, because it's just downstairs at the Hungaroring. I was walking down a corridor and saw it. He said, "Competing is in my blood. It's part of me. It stands out above everything else." Is that level of focus and commitment one of the most essential things to have a career at the top of this sport?
Yes, but I feel like I'm with that in anything I do. Like Formula One, obviously, I'm competitive. Thank God I have the talent also to be competitive and to be part of the most probably exclusive sport in the world, if I may, because it's only 20 of us. But I take that philosophy a bit to everything I do, and I'm like, when it comes to playing paddle, playing golf, cycling, I'm just too competitive, to lose. And I don't know what there is inside me that just hates losing. And every time I play a sport and I'm not very good at that sport and I feel like I should be better at that sport, I go take a lesson or play it for 2 months before I get good again. And then I beat that guy that beat me that day. I challenge him to a match 2 months later and say, now let's play again. And I try and win, So I have something in me that is just simply too competitive. And that's, I think, why I enjoy sport so much and I do any kind of sport.
Sounds healthy.
It's healthy and unhealthy at the same time, I think. Yeah.
Do you think part of that comes from your dad as well? For people that don't know, he's a world champion rally driver. Or do you think that's all you?
It comes from my dad, because my dad likes every sport, playing and watching every sport. He's very good at any racket sport. He's good at golf. He's trained in cycling and running all his life. So he's a very good athlete in general. And I think the fact that he put me into every sport when I was a kid to take lessons of everything, football, tennis, paddle, ski, obviously motorsports. I tried everything when I was a kid. And I think that comes from him because he was very passionate for sport. And then that competitive vein, I think
it also comes from him because, I can tell that he gets equally competitive in everything we do together. Like, we actually play a lot of paddle, we play a lot of golf together, and I can tell it hurts him as much as it does hurt me when he beats me or I beat him, and he is going through the same pain that I go through if he beats me. The only thing I would say is that it's even worse when your 60-year-old dad beats you at a round of golf than if your son of 30 beats you at a match of tennis. I think it's easier to take if it's not your dad beating you.
So what would you be doing if you weren't in a car then?
I got to a good level in tennis around when I was 9-10 years old, just before I went into karting. Now I love golf. In Formula 1, we are 20 in golf. Every tournament is 130 guys at a very similar level, so that's crazy. I think I would have tried the sport, and if not, I would have just gone into uni and I think study something with business, marketing, administration.
I saw you congratulating Tadej Pogačar on winning the Tour de France. There was a lovely photo of the two of you together. How did you come to know him and end up on a bike with him?
Yeah, well, I actually had dinner with him last night.
Did you?
We went out to celebrate his win. He's my neighbor in Monaco, and whenever we both coincide, we have a little group with Oli Berman also. Us three that with our girlfriends, we organize a dinner every time the three of us are in town. And obviously, Tadej winning the Tour de France, perfect excuse, to have a nice dinner in Monaco. We were reviewing a bit the Tour de France together, and planning our next ride together, and just having a good time.
Do you take things from him as well, like elite athlete to elite athlete?
100%. Whenever I'm with such an interesting character as could be a Tadej Pogačar, which for me is right now, I think, the best athlete right now, or one of the best athletes all around in the world. Domination that he's having is incredible, and in such a competitive sport like cycling, to dominate the way he's doing, there's always interesting questions that you can ask. Obviously you need to be confident with that person, and know the kind of questions you can ask and not ask. But for me, mainly just the psychology part of it and the training part of it, and how much you can take from the way he looks at things and the way he talks about it. I try, and I'm always a pain to him. I always ask him. I'm a big cycling fan and a big Pogačar fan, and I always try and ask as many questions as I can within my limits, of course.
I'm sure you're a big Alex Albon fan, and I'm sure he's a big Carlos Sainz fan as well. I was reading earlier this month, he was saying that he thinks 2028 is kind of like a realistic year to think Williams could be challenging top end again. Is that how you see it?
I think so. I think we need to give, even though the step we've done this year has been massive, and I think we have another big step coming next year, or I hope, I still think that the team needs more time. Even if performance of the car is there, and we might have a competitive car, even more competitive car in the coming years, it takes just more than a competitive car to win in Formula 1. And we've seen it. It just takes time in Formula 1, I think, to bed in the people inside a team to get used to fighting for more important things, especially if that people doesn't have the experience of fighting for wins before. It happened also in Ferrari in 2022. We had an extremely competitive car in 22, but we didn't know exactly how to use that competitive car to win a championship. It will happen the same with every team that suddenly makes it to the top.
I'm taking a small risk here, but are you Real Madrid from memory?
Massive Real Madrid fan.
Thank goodness I got that right. So the reason I mentioned that is, if someone said to a Real Madrid fan, hey guys, you're going to be at the top again in 2028, people will be like, what do you mean 2028? So I'm just curious, as a top competitor, is it difficult to think along those lines? Because that's a long way away, isn't it? And you, like everybody else, every other driver, you want to win now.
Formula 1, you need to realize that you're more often than not going to win. You need to give yourself the best possible scenario with the way your career is going, to position yourself in the best possible spot to be fighting for that position. And given the situation I was in last year, I saw Williams as the medium to long-term project that gave me that potential situation happening. And I must say, 1 year after that, happy anniversary, I still back that decision, given the step we've done in 1 year, going from ninth in constructors to clear fifth. If we continue this trajectory and the progress, I do think we have a chance.
Very last question then, and this is the one that everybody will have wanted me to ask you. You're quite well known for singing Smooth Operator in the car. When did Smooth Operator first come into your life?
It was Silverstone 2019. For some reason that weekend, I was a McLaren driver. That weekend, I was driving, hotel to a truck to a hotel. And for some reason, that song went on the radio 2 or 3 times, randomly. Like, it's a song that you hear maybe once, but 2 or 3 times is a bit of a coincidence. And it got stuck in my head that weekend because I heard it. And I couldn't stop singing it, like whistling a bit, like typical tune that you have in your head in the car, outside of the car. And I must have sung it a couple of times to my engineers, and they heard me. What the hell are you singing this song? I mean, I don't know. It's just stuck in my head. So race finished. We did a good comeback. I don't know where I was starting, but I came back from P something to P6, I think, 2019. And I sang it on the radio. But I had no intention of making it become a thing, and then it became a thing.
Gracias, Carlos.
No problem.
That's Carlos Sainz, and we are going to reflect on that in just a second. You might be able to notice a slight change in atmosphere, and that's because we've made our way to the pit lane at the Hungaroring. This is an amazing sight. So right in front of us is the Ferrari garage. You can see that sort of yellow, red, white calligraphy, number 44, Lewis Hamilton. His face above the garage is looking back at us. Number 16, Charles Leclerc. I can see Lando Norris's and Oscar Piastri in the McLaren garage as well, just to our right-hand side. And there's now loads of F1 fans as well beginning to swirl around us. We can just about, if we looked over the top of where all of the Ferrari, I'm going to say fancy people, the team will be sitting away for the Grand Prix. We will be able to see the main grandstand, which has got loads of people in there already. They're having a great time. We've got Formula E driver Sam Bird, Jenny Gow, Harry Benjamin, all with us. I mean, that Carlos Sainz, Sam, what a guy.
He is such a cool guy. So I've played golf with him quite a few times with Lando, and those two get on like a house on fire.
They must have beaten you so badly. They're so good at golf.
My handicap's 5.6, Jenny.
What does that mean?
I'm better than them. So, yeah.
My handicap is golf, I think.
What's golf?
Well, but you're supposed to be playing golf soon.
Yeah, I was supposed to be playing golf after this weekend with Jackie Stewart's grandson.
As you do.
So I'm hoping it's just 9 holes.
Hang on, and where he's playing, so he's playing at Ian Poulter's home course, which is Woburn, which, can I just say, is one of the hardest courses I've certainly ever played. It's just lined with trees everywhere. You're going to have a great time.
I'll
have
report
fun
back and let you know how I get on.
Yeah.
I'm feeling confident. Thanks, Sam.
Do you know, Sam, I was actually quite surprised that some of the sports that Carlos Sainz was telling us he could have got involved in if he wasn't an F1 driver, they weren't all adrenaline sports. I thought you guys were only about the adrenaline sports.
No, we're about the competitive nature. Like, when you're into sports, if you're a sportsman, everything that you do from there on out is about winning or competing. So when we play golf, we all want to win. We all want to play well. I played football at a very high level when I was a kid, up until I was 16. I captained Surrey cricket until I was 15. I was Surrey cross-country champion. All of these things you do as a kid because you've got that natural competitive spirit, and then we go into racing. But we never lose sight of the fact of these other sports. If we're going to do something, we're going to want to win.
Yeah, but you also jump out of planes, right?
I have jumped out of a plane with my hero. Indeed, I did. Do you want me to expand on the story?
Yes.
Okay. So here we go. So I will set the scene. It's 2012, and I'm in Montreal. I've just landed. I've got to the hotel, settled into my room. Anyway, the phone in the room goes, and it's 10:30 at night, and it's Michael Schumacher. Michael's on the phone. Hey, Sam, what are you doing in the morning? I don't know, Michael. Like, you've got the Mercedes car. You're chauffeuring us around this weekend. I suppose we're going to the circuit. No. Don't worry about that. We'll go in the afternoon. Tomorrow morning, we're going skydiving. Be down for breakfast at 6 a.m. Phone down. And look, I never told him he was my hero, but he was my hero. And you're not going to say no to Michael Schumacher. But normally with something like a skydive, you've planned it way in advance, and it's a charity thing, or you're doing it with your mates. I've had 10 hours to prepare for this, that's it. Anyway, it turned out to be one of the greatest experiences of my life. Getting up there like 12,000 feet in the air, strapped to the back or to the front of this random guy, falling out of the sky at over 100 mile an hour. We actually got the landing wrong. We actually landed about a mile away from where we were supposed to. So then it was just me and Michael with these parachutes and these men just walking through fields trying to find this Montreal skydiving site. But yeah, what an experience. I've got the video at home. I'll have to bring it in to IMG at some point, but what a cool experience.
That's crazy. I did not have skydiving with Schumacher down as something that would come up this weekend. It's kind of appropriate because, I know that was when he was at Mercedes and you were a test driver for Mercedes, but here we are outside the Ferrari garage where Michael Schumacher had all those many years of success, where Carlos Sainz's seat was taken by Lewis Hamilton. And actually right now, as we look at the Ferrari garage, before we could see loads of basically spare noses of Ferrari cars all stacked up in front of us. Now we've got a stretch to see over the top because lots of Ferrari fans have emerged. In fact, they're kind of running down the pit lane towards us, all decked out, as you can imagine, in red. There's a mechanic in there working on one of the cars. I mean, just looking at Lewis Hamilton's Formula One car is a pretty cool thing to experience. You can see the white number 44 on it. It's just sitting in the shade of his garage at the minute. He has been saying, Jenny, Lewis Hamilton, that he's pushing the envelope, pushing the agenda, sending letters to people from Ferrari to say this is how we can improve. He's really involved, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. His move to Ferrari was about setting a legacy. He'd already kind of done that with Mercedes, but now he wants to turn Ferrari into a championship-winning team, and they haven't won a championship. You have to go back to 2008. It's a long time for someone like Ferrari to not have success. They've had Fernando Alonso. They've had Sebastian Vettel, both two big championship names who have gone to Ferrari and not been able to win. It's really important for Lewis not to be another great champion who's gone to Ferrari and not been able to win. So this is his building, his foundation year. Next year, it's going to be all change as far as he's concerned of how this team runs and how it wins.
This is it for Lewis Hamilton, isn't it? It is all on 2026 and this new regulation change.
It's all on red.
But of course, he wants to try and enjoy some success this year as well. He has yet to stand on a Grand Prix podium for Ferrari. But what I find interesting is, look, we know how hard Lewis Hamilton works, and he's joined a team. And let's not forget they're sitting second in the Constructors' Championship. However, they are a long way away from McLaren, and they are not where they should be, because when you go back to last year, it was McLaren and Ferrari neck and neck right to the end in Abu Dhabi fighting for the Constructors' Championship, and McLaren have come out leaps and bounds ahead of them this year, so something's gone wrong there. Lewis Hamilton is now in the process of trying to understand that, and with these letters, these documents, bullet pointing these notes, it's great because he clearly wants to...
Are they literal letters?
Oh, I'm not sure he's going, dear Frederick, I noticed this when I stepped into Maranello on Tuesday afternoon.
With his fountain pen.
Yeah, sat in his office.
With a quill.
With a fire on.
No, but that's what you do as a driver, Harry. I can be driving down the M3 and off to go and do something else, and a thought will be in my brain, and it's automatically on the phone to my engineer or text him as soon as I stop driving, of course, and speak to him about that little thing that I thought might be useful. The engineers might think, no, it's not relevant at all, but anything that comes to your mind as a driver, you're going to want to express to your engineer and your team, because you believe that your thought process is correct and that it might make the team better or might make the car faster.
But I agree, we all do it, don't we? After every 5 Live broadcast, I'm always sending producer Paddy bullet points on how we can improve as a team.
Delete.
However, I wonder, and this is also a question to the group, Ferrari is known for their culture, which sometimes can be difficult to infiltrate. They have a certain way of doing things. Charles Leclerc is obviously very much their number one and has been a golden boy. He's been brought up through the ranks as a Ferrari junior. Then Lewis Hamilton comes in and you go, oh, okay, this is Lewis Hamilton. He is bigger than the sport of Formula One. that you can't be bigger than Ferrari. And so I wonder, as much as I'm sure he's writing and trying to develop the team and help it, a question to the group, do you reckon Ferrari are now a bit more amenable as an organisation with Fred Vasseur there to that kind of thing now, and that culture is adapting and changing, as I think somebody's come out. It's Charles Leclerc.
I'm just going to stand
Charles Leclerc has just come out and there's a scream from the crowd.
Yeah, so I'm now just like perched on top, the opposite side of the garage where Fred Vasseur, the team principal, has his big mouse and keyboard. That's where he'll be sitting, and the whoops are because, they've caught sight of Charles Leclerc. And actually, this is a relevant point, Jenny, to bring him into the conversation, I think, because, Charles is way ahead of Lewis at the moment in all senses, isn't he? So if we're talking about driving the agenda, well, he is Ferrari's golden boy, Charles Leclerc, isn't he? So he must be just as big of a voice, if not a bigger voice, than Lewis Hamilton.
I think because Charles has never experienced anything other than the way Ferrari work in F1, he comes at it from a Ferrari point of view. Whereas if you look at Hamilton, okay, Leclerc might be in front of Hamilton, but actually Hamilton comes at it with a championship winning point of view. And that is relevant to Ferrari because they haven't won a championship. It's simple. So he does come in and he does trail Leclerc, but it's his first year. That's almost a given that he was going to trail. But what he can bring and what he can offer the team, bearing in mind both drivers know Fred Vasseur, the team principal, they've worked with him when they were younger, they will bring, each of them will bring something to Fred that is valuable to Ferrari, and it's getting the best. If you look at McLaren, what they're able to do, the team principal is able to bring out the best in both drivers and make the team better. That's what they're trying to do here.
Jenny's point is so true. It's so spot on. They've employed a 7-time world champion here at Ferrari with Lewis Hamilton. He's clearly... He's still got it. It's just proving a little bit more difficult to extract with this new car. But the wealth of experience and knowledge he's got on how to win, he's going to be bringing key little things that he's learned over his time from McLaren, from his time at Mercedes, and trying to implement them here. And change doesn't happen overnight. It could be a cultural thing that he's got to really try and force Ferrari to adapt. And that's going to take some time.
One thing that will be good news for Lewis Hamilton is that coming into this weekend, the team principal Fred Vasseur has been announced that he's had his contract extended as team principal for a multi-year deal, which I think will allow for some consistency that Ferrari desperately need and wants to stabilise where they are and build. Lewis Hamilton, one of the reasons he went to Ferrari was not only because it was Ferrari, but it was Fred Vasseur who was now at the helm of it, a man who he has worked with in his junior career, won races with, won championships with when Vasseur was running the ART Grand Prix outfit in the lower formula. So I think that will also be a big boost for Hamilton. And also, I imagine, if we cast our mind back, I think it was Canada or so, there were rumours coming out of the Italian media, credible rumours from the Italian media, that Fred Vasseur was on the verge maybe of being out of Ferrari. So something's happened. Lewis Hamilton gave his support vocally then and there in a press conference in Canada. And I think Vasseur has done a good job anyway and brought a good new culture vibe to Ferrari. And I think that will be crucial for how they enter 2026.
I also think two things on that, Harry. The timing of this smacks of them wanting to say Vasseur is with us. We're not being led by whispers of Christian Horner joining Ferrari. That's not happening. They're standing by their man, and that man is Fred. And secondly, this weekend, you see the massive amount of Ferrari fans. They're here for Hamilton for a reason as well, because Hamilton goes so well around this track, and they are hopeful that he will be standing on the podium at the end of this weekend. And I think he could well do that.
I'm going to stand up again here. Basically, I came down from this perch where I can see into the Ferrari garage because, Sam, I'm already quite a bit taller than you.
Even if I stood up where you are, there's no way that I could see into the Ferrari garage, so please explain what's going on.
Well, Sam basically gets up to my thigh when I'm standing here, so that you can see all of the engineers and mechanics there. Charles Leclerc has just walked back out of the garage, but obviously any time he sort of pops his head up, everybody goes completely crazy. What's remarkable is, off the back of that interview with Carlos Sainz, we were basically on our own here, and now it's standing room only. It is absolutely chock full. People have brought signs with them, unhelpfully, all facing away from us, but most of them are just written on pieces of cardboard. There are phones all over the place up in the air, just desperately hoping to catch a glimpse of a hero. And look, we heard a big roar for Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton. I have a feeling it might be even bigger if he decides to pop his head up in the next few minutes. And the pit lane is just now completely rammed. Right, let's move on. I can step back down.
We can't move on.
To our half-term report, guys, because I've got 3 questions for you, basically, to ask all about this Formula One season. Best moment, biggest overachiever, biggest underachiever. And we're at the halfway stage. Well, we're one race away from the summer break, so it feels like the right time to do it. Harry Benjamin, do you want to go with best moment?
My best moment, and it's the first thing that springs to mind, is Nico Hülkenberg. Sorry, Sam. It's Nico Hülkenberg getting a podium after 239 Grand Prix starts. Yes, rain and weather played its part, but he showcased his skill, his experience as a Formula One driver, and he finally got that podium. So for me, that's my best moment so far.
It's copy-paste. It's copy-paste. Nico Hülkenberg's podium at Silverstone. Boring, but Jenny, it was the moment of the season so far. Seeing that, witnessing it, watching him drive those last 10-15 laps under some serious pressure. Let's face it, from Lewis Hamilton on the soft tyre behind, that was always going to be a tough ask for him to be able, as now... Is that Charles Leclerc again?
It's Charles Leclerc again.
He's got
his red Ferrari T-shirt on. He's got a pair of, really, really sort of sandblasted tracksuit bottoms on. And he's just having a real... That sort of winning smile, Sam. You've seen that smile before, as he just kind of climbs in and out of the car at the minute. Maybe he wanted a moment of the season. He knew we were talking about it. He thought, can I get involved?
Well, look, my moment
now
is still
out.
Nico Hülkenberg.
So the answer's Nico Hülkenberg. Here comes Charles Leclerc then. He's just walked out to the fans. I think basically he couldn't avoid them anymore. So he's now right in front of us. He's another pretty small guy. Most Formula One drivers are. So he has just been sort of swallowed up now in a real sea of Ferrari supporters right in front of us. They're holding out caps. They're holding out phones. Desperate for a selfie. Desperate for a signature. Jenny, moment of the season.
For me, I'm going to go slightly different because I feel like that's my job, to go slightly different. So I'm going to say go back to China, to the moment that Lewis Hamilton stood on the podium in the sprint race for Ferrari. And he won that race. And I think it was a sign or a hope of things to come for Ferrari. They were so buoyed by that. And so was he. And for me, just watching him on the top step with a different team other than Mercedes was a really significant step, even if he hasn't been able to carry that on.
Okay, let's go through these last couple quickly, because I've got something very specific I want to make sure we get in before the end of the show to surprise you with. Overachiever, Harry.
I'm actually going to go for Max Verstappen as an overachiever this year. I think the car has clearly not been up to scratch, and Max Verstappen has been able to maximise every single thing they can get out of it because he's Max Verstappen, and if he's not achieving, he's overachieving.
I'm going to go with Alex Albon. I think he's really delivered in that Williams. They sit 5th in the Constructors right now. For me, he's had a really solid first half of the year.
For me, it's Isaac Hadjar. He's the rookie that came in, has blown everyone away, been linked to a move to Red Bull already, and I see his success as a foundation of good things for him.
Oh, it's been so happy, so bright. All the fans are screaming. Everyone's having a great time. Sunshine, Budapest, biggest underachiever.
For me, it's going to be Kimi Antonelli so far in the Mercedes. I'm sorry, that may seem harsh. I know he's a rookie. I know he's only
really
18 years old, but I think he's had a really rough run of things. And for the hype that came into it, I am starting to question whether he has come into Formula One a little bit too soon.
I'm going to look at it slightly differently. I'm going to go with whoever is in the second seat at Red Bull. So right now, that would be Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, it's just not good enough. It's not clicking right now. And okay, Max Verstappen is so sensational that he can drag that car around. But surely there is a way of Yuki or whoever is in that second seat to be within a couple of tenths of Max. Or is Max just so wildly brilliant that he will be half second ahead of every single other driver?
For me, it's Alpine as a team. They shouldn't be last. They shouldn't only have 20 points. They're a massive manufacturer. If you look globally, it's a Renault company. They should be way better than 20 points.
Good job we left their office, isn't it?
That's why we left.
Right, we're going to end with this then. Something that you will categorically be hearing in commentary from here in Hungary at the Grand Prix in Budapest.
The green light comes on at the end, and it is almost time to go. It is George Russell on pole position. It's all eyes to the lights and foot to the floor. It's a tensive start as the rain is coming down. The track absolutely soaking, but Russell heading into turn one, the left-hander ahead of Max.
Eyes to the lights, foot to the floor, Harry Benjamin. Why do F1 commentators need their own starting catchphrase?
Well, the first thing is I've got to not fluff that up whenever I say it. But essentially, I think we have it is to buy you time, because by the time you've finished saying the phrase, the lights have gone out on the start gantry, and the cars have started to move a couple of feet, a few meters, and you then can just about get your brain to catch up with where you're looking and just to see, okay, who has made a good start, who's made a slow start. I can't keep my eyes on all 20 Formula One cars that are pelting it down to turn one. So having a phrase essentially just buys you a little bit of time to just get your bearings and see who's made a good start, who's made a poor start, and maybe just who's moved over to the far right, something like that. But then you're in it, and that's essentially what it is.
But loads of commentators in different sports have that little crutch. I just wonder, is it Murray Walker? Is it because he had that iconic line? Because every F1 commentator has one, don't they?
That is true. I think before I started commentating in general, I started commentating in 2021, and somebody said, well, what's your line? And I didn't have one. And so I thought, oh, okay, I have to have a line then. And obviously Murray Walker was famous for go, 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 and Crofty is, it's lights out, and the rest of it, and all the others have their term. So I just thought to be honest, I just thought, oh, this is what F1 commentators do, and I've got to come up with a good sign. But it is useful. It buys you time. It's good for it's good for the brand, but it's also it's good for the brand. Come on.
Did you actually
Brand
just say
Benjamin.
that?
The brand of Benjamin.
Oh, TM.
But that is it. I think I did it ever since I did a GT race in Paul Ricard in 2021, which was my first ever race. Carried that through into Porsche Super Cup, the Formula 3s, Formula 2 and Formula 1.
Well, he delivers it very well, guys, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Not all the time.
I don't even want to give him credit, to be honest, because that was just so cringe.
Killing you inside.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah.
Right, thank you three, for the time being. Harry Benjamin, Sam Bird, Jenny Gow, here on the pit lane in Budapest, the Hungarian Grand Prix, live in full on 5 Live. It starts at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. You'll get every single twist and turn in every sense of the phrase. But we're here all weekend, so we'll be back on Saturday's 5 Live Sport as well. And tomorrow night, we'll bring you another half hour focused in on Lando Norris. So it's kind of like the life of Lando, and we're going to hear from those who know him well. We'll hear from the man himself. We'll hear from one or two of his bosses as well. So thank you so much for listening. I believe we're off to a Williams pub quiz.
Yeah, how's your general knowledge?
Awful.
Great.
Excellent.
Strong.
Well,
Excellent.
I heard you finished last previously, so
I've not done a quiz with the BBC team.
I have a wooden spoon at home signed by Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa, so that's how far
Really?
back it was. We got the wooden spoon as the BBC team, so standards are low. You'll be
listen,
fine.
the only way is up. We've got this. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live. Next up, we're joining the Rugby Union Weekly team for the latest episode of their Lions Top 10 series. This should be a good one. Controversies. That's coming up after the latest news here on 5 Live.
The voice of the UK.